I was never a major Atom fan myself. I did dabble a bit in it here and there, but it was never my main code editor. But I know many people out there were, or still are, really big fans of Atom. And all the way back in June, GitHub decided to discontinue the project. Why, you might be asking? Well, Microsoft makes Vscode, and Microsoft owns GitHub. This isn't just some crazy conspiracy, they straight up said this in the announcement. We've decided to retire Atom in order to further our commitment to bringing fast and reliable software development to the cloud via Microsoft Visual Studio Code and GitHub Codespaces. But to not dump this change on developers completely out of nowhere, upending their entire workflow, the sunset date was not set for back in June. It was set for mid-December, and that date has now passed. The repo is now archived. And now that this date has passed, a few things are going to be changing. Let's start with something that isn't changing though. All of this code that is available here, all of the pre-built binaries, all of the existing issues, pull requests, everything in the repo, all of this is going to remain here. So if you want to go and say fork the code and maintain your own version, you want to go and download the latest version, the 1.63.1 release, you can go and do that. And assuming that GitHub doesn't shut down at some point, this is pretty much always going to be available. With that being said, I wouldn't recommend that you keep using it. Keep in mind, Atom is an Electron application, and unless you're using it in a bundled environment like an app image, a Flatpak, a Snap, there is going to come a point sometime in the future, maybe the near future, especially on the rolling releases, that it just stops working, it no longer runs, the dependencies don't line up anymore, and it's pretty much just useless. Now, the Atom package management has also stopped working. If you try to find any of the packages online, it's actually going to redirect you. Now, it's supposed to redirect you over to the article, but their redirects do not work. So you can see it's packages/teletype, not the actual article itself like it's supposed to be. As for the regular Atom website, that is going to take you over to the blog post. What that indicates to me is they're not properly stripping the URL. All of the packages will still show up in a search engine, and that is going to be atom.io/packages/some package name. When they do the redirect, they only replace the atom.io part, and then this gets added onto the redirected URL, and the redirect breaks. Now, much more obviously, there will be no more updates, no more security updates. The state the project is in right now, all of the bugs included, is the state it's going to remain in. Also, the teletype extension will no longer function. For anyone who hasn't used Atom out there, this is basically a way to do collaborative development. This was not being done in a peer-to-peer fashion. This was being done through Atoms or GitHub servers. Those servers have now been disabled. Now, many Linux distros out there stopped shipping Atom as soon as the discontinuation was first announced. Some distros still do have packages. On Arch Linux, for example, it has been relegated to the AUR. Now, if you're trying to compile it, some users are already having issues trying to do so. So, as I said before, I highly recommend finding a new editor. But if you are a fan of Atom, you don't just have to give up the idea entirely. There are two major projects continuing on the legacy. The first of those being Pulsar. Pulsar is a direct fork of Atom. Right now, it's pretty much just rebranding it to get it not in a point where they're going to be sued by GitHub and Microsoft. And you can go and use it right now. It functions like Atom functioned. There are some things that were connected to the GitHub servers that don't work just yet, but as a code editor, all of the stuff that you expect from Atom is gonna be working. And it's not like this is a project hardly being developed. if we go over to the Pulsar GitHub, it's actually really active. The last update was an hour ago, and there's a bunch of things being changed pretty much every day. Now, as I said, this is still branding changes, so whether the functionality continues being worked on, that's hard to say. But there is some hope there that it will be done. In the latest beta release, they replaced the old proprietary package backend with a new open source backend so that packages can actually work and be installed and all of that fun stuff. So there is some actual work being done. I think right now, if you're still using Atom and you want something that is still actively being developed, Pulsar is the most logical place to go. However, there is another project that is really worth talking about. That project being Zed. Zed is currently not open source, and it hasn't had its first actual full release. It's still in fairly early development. However, it is made by many of the old Atom developers. Why a new editor? Why not contribute to an existing editor? We stopped working on Atom and started on the foundations of Zed when we realized we couldn't shape Atom into our vision for the ultimate editor. While we respect and appreciate the innovations brought by Visual Studio Code, we never found ourselves loving it enough to give up on the dream. Ultimately, we think we're going to add the most value to the world by creating something new. It's also a lot more fun. Now, Zed is going to be free, just as a regular code editor like Atom or anything else out there. And they also do plan at some point to open source the core of Zed, while omitting any code-related features we aim to monetize. We may also open up Zed's documentation to allow contributions in the future. I don't see any reason why you wouldn't open the documentation. Now, as for the features we aim to monetize, what they're planning to do is monetize optional network-based features like collaboration tools and things like this. Now, when they say open source the core, what they mean is we'd like to be as open as possible while maintaining the ability to run a profitable business. This probably means some kind of open core model, where the editor is available under the GPL, but other parts of our system remain proprietary. The timeline and exact strategy are still uncertain at this stage. Now, you might say, how dare they have something be partially proprietary? But this is a pretty accepted model in the FOSS space. You have things like Bitwarden and GitLab that do exactly this. How do you think they charge for their corporate models that have extra features? Those extra features aren't just magically there, they're proprietary code. I have zero care for collaboration features. If the editor and everything you'd expect to be there with an editor is free, that's fine with me. Now, there is one major problem right now with wanting to use Zed. If you go to their website, you can't just go there and download it. You think you go to the releases section and be good to go. No, this only tells you about the releases. Currently, only those invited from the waitlist can download Zed. You have to join a waiting list to download the program. Now, much like Pulsar, Zed is going to be extensible. However, unlike Pulsar, Pulsar adopts all of the Atom plugins. Zed is starting from nothing. So if there are plugins you want to use with Zed, you're gonna have to wait quite a while for those to exist, or you can make them yourself. But it's in beta right now, so any plugins that are made will need to be updated again as things change. So for quite a while, there's not going to be anything there. Now, for getting its worth as a code editor, Atom was actually an incredibly influential project. It's not just any old Electron code editor, it is the Electron code editor. You may not know this, but Electron exists because of Atom. It used to be called Atom Shell before it got rebranded in 2015. It was literally made for Atom. So you could say that Atom is to blame for all of the Electron applications existing. Have that one, Atom fans. I'm sure you want people to remember that. So let me know your thoughts in the comments section down below. Do you run Atom? Do you now use Pulsar? Are you interested in what Zed is doing? Or do you not care whatsoever? I would love to know. So go and like this video if you like the video. And if you really like the video and you want to become one of these amazing people over here, go check out my Patreon, subscribe, similarly Pay, linked in the description down below. I've got a podcast called Tech Over Tea. I've got a gaming channel called Brodie on Games. That's going to be it for me, and I'm out.